Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Wolves didn't just stay alive to force a Game 7. They put the defending champs in a blender to extend the series. The Rangers avoided that same fate with a monster third period, and Malik Neighbors is not enough for Daniel Jones. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Minnesota Timberwolves had their backs against the wall to Nikola Jokic and the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Our Locked On Wolves podcast breaks down a series-extending butt-kicking.
A 115-70 victory, 45-point margin. Wolves led by as many as 50, and they got free chicken in the fourth quarter for the fans. A Game 6 blowout in a bizarre, zany series that will go the distance Sunday night in Denver, Game 7. Let's jump right into it, Tyler, because this game has so many elements. The morale was so low coming off the Game 5 loss. Did it start with the news that Mike Conley was going to play? I think there's a lot of angles to attack, but just chronologically, earlier in the day, Mike Conley, we learned, is going to play in this game. What kind of a boost do you think that gave?
And it's huge whenever Mike's in there. Just, we know that he's not always going to be this huge, big time scoring threat, but just his presence, his consistency, his leadership, his decision making, it means so much for this team and takes off so much pressure from guys like Ant and Cat. He just simplifies everything and is just one of these guys that raises the game of everyone around him. So, he had an awesome shooting night tonight, 13 points, 3 of 6 from 3. He was really good, but just him being there and being out there and being able to bring the ball up and, make that extra pass, run a side pick and roll with Rudy and put pressure on the defense in different ways. It means so much because guys like Ant can then just take 30 seconds off and take a breather, take a deep breath and know that the offense is still in really good hands. So it was huge.
Do you want to guess some of the plus minuses tonight, or have you looked at them already?
I have the box score up, and they are absurd.
Anthony Edwards, plus 43 in the game. Rudy Gobert, plus 30. Conley, plus 26. Could go down the line. Everybody so positive. And can we just relish that Nikola Jokic was a minus 25 tonight? I mean, how fun is that to finally give Joker a taste of his medicine? And this series, Tyler, has been just a bunch of dramatic shifts, right? We've had a pretty competitive Game 1, I would say, a blowout Game 2, a blowout Game 3, and not just your garden variety blowouts either. Like, we're talking call the fight in the third quarter level blowouts. Game 4, a little more competitive, and then Game 5 turned into a laugher late. And this one was a laugher from very early on. So it's a series where you don't know which team is going to show up day to day. Very unpredictable. And yet another, what was the swing from Game 5 to Game 6? 60 points? That's the second time in this series that's happened. Yeah,
it's wild. I don't know how else to describe it because, like you said, there were a couple competitive games. And, I think Game 5 was pretty competitive up until that fourth quarter where Wolves went super cold. Ant's offense never came alive, and then Joker just pulled away, and it's like, okay, well, that's that. And tonight it was just kind of the inverse of that, and the Wolves their offense was clicking from start. Their defense was incredible, and like the Nuggets were getting from their role players and their bench in these last 3 games, the Wolves role players and bench really stepped up in a major way tonight, and it's really been those groups of players that have been the huge kind of swing factors in this series. So it was awesome to see Anthony Edwards come out, guns firing, super confident, super relaxed, really measured in his approach after kind of a dud in Game 5. And he was fantastic yet again for the third or fourth time in this series.
Stay up to date on the Minnesota Timberwolves all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Wolves on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Rangers had a chance to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, and until the third period, it did not look good. Before we get to that, Shohei Ohtani got a Dodger Blue bobblehead night. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section, and GameTime picks the seats for big-time savings. And the GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the free app, and new users can get $20 off their first purchase with code Locked On. Terms apply. That's code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase with GameTime. Download the GameTime app today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It didn't take Xander Schauffele long to forget about losing to Rory McIlroy last week. For the second time in just under 12 months, Schauffele tied the record low score for a major tournament round with a 62. He picked just about as good a way as you can start the PGA Championship. The Thursday round featured 9 birdies and no bogeys and broke the Valhalla Country Club course record of 63 set by Jose Maria Olazabal in 2000. That was also the record for a PGA Championship round, until Xander Schauffele showed up this year. I also have to point out Scottie Scheffler had a baby a week ago, or his wife did, and he made eagle on the first hole. Hold out for eagle. Dodger Stadium was packed for Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night as the Cincinnati Reds came to town.
It might have been Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night, but it was Elly De La Cruz night at Dodger Stadium on Thursday. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and Elly De La Cruz dominated the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were not ready for him. 4 hits, 4 steals, 3 runs scored. He absolutely demolished the Dodgers in the kind of performance that you say, star. Also, bullpen game for the Reds, and they get the win. I think that's a perfect management job by David Bell. Yeah, I said it. Beautiful management job by David Bell. Overall, great night. I mean, Will Benson got everything started off with a leadoff homer, and the Reds got this series started off with a win. Could they take 2? Could they take 3? We'll see.
Cubs and Pirates had a battle to begin a 4-game series in the NL Central.
Sam, the time is here. Should we be worried about Justin Steele?
Yeah, so I'm glad you posed it that way because, I posted a couple things on Twitter and, the unanimous Cub bloggers and reporters would say, hey, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. I agree. He's going to be totally fine. But you know what? That doesn't change the fact that the Cubs just scored 12 runs in 2 Justin Steele starts against the Pirates and lost both of them. So I think my answer to your question is, am I concerned? Short term, yes, because we just lost 2 games to an inferior opponent that, those games are precious. They just are. Okay. You're now 2-2 against the Pirates, and you lost 2 Justin Steele starts where I thought offensively today, were they good? No. Were they good enough? Yes.
In elimination games, it's always the team facing elimination that comes out with the sense of urgency. And the Carolina Hurricanes did that in Game 6 against the New York Rangers. They had a 2-0 lead. They had a 3-1 lead. And then the Rangers, pardon the pun, hit Carolina with the Hurricane, 4 straight goals, and they prevail, a 5-3 win. They are headed to the next round. John Chick from Locked On Rangers joins me now. And John, this is a Rangers team that has seen adversity, certainly this season, seen adversity over the last few seasons. How are they able to really mostly in the third period, four goals, able to put this together?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to start with Chris Kreider and just give that guy a special shout out because this guy is the elder statesman of the Rangers. It's really cool that, he's been a big part of like two different very successful eras of Ranger hockey.
Yeah.
He re-signed with them when he didn't necessarily have to. I think maybe even gave them a little bit of a break on the price. And obviously he's seen it through to the other side. And the Rangers, they win the President's Trophy this year. And I mean, they were up against it, man. But I kept thinking, they lose game 4. I keep thinking the Rangers are going to win the series. They lose game 5. Same thing. I keep thinking they're going to find a way. And man, did Chris Kreider step up in a big way. To me, that's a career-defining performance. And, for the Rangers themselves, I mean, this is basically who they are. They've been a team that has been very good at responding to adversity this season. Of course, myself, other Ranger fans, we could have done without this series going as long as it did and done without having to come back from 2 goals in the third period. But the bottom line, they found a way to get it done. They got a hell of a team, and I just can't wait to watch the next round.
I understand basking in the afterglow a little bit still here, but
Yeah.
Are you more heartened at the way that it finished in the final period, or more concerned about what happened, not just in the first 2 periods, but over the last 2 games?
No, I'm not concerned at all. I mean, I was concerned a little bit going into this game because it's the Stanley Cup playoffs and anything can happen and anybody can beat anybody on any given night. But bottom line, that was a heavyweight clash right there. The Carolina Hurricanes have an unbelievable team. They were one of the betting favorites, going into the playoffs this year. Most people considered them to be the favorites against the Rangers. I myself picked the Rangers to win in 7. I thought this series could very easily go the distance. Look, they took their best shot. The Rangers got punched in the mouth a couple of times, but that's a nice thing, I guess, about going up 3-0 is you only need to land one more punch. And somehow, some way, they were able to do it tonight in pretty much storybook fashion there.
And now they wait, and they will not have to wait long to find out their next opponent. It's the Panthers and the Bruins. Do you think from a stylistic standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, that there is an advantage to one of those teams or another? Understanding each of them, they have pretty impressive squads.
Yeah, I'm going to basically wing this because I'm as superstitious as the players, man. I never like think too far ahead. And, it's, I don't know. I mean, obviously the Panthers had the better record. And I think, just looking at, depth charts and whatnot, they do seem to have the deeper team. But, obviously Boston, they're a battle-tested team and a team that seems to be on a mission since, everything that happened to them last year, the phenomenal regular season, blowing the 3-1 lead. They have to go to overtime against the Leafs just to survive round 1 this year. I mean, they're going to be a tough opponent too. We'll see. The one thing I'll say about a Boston matchup, and I was talking to a friend about this, the New York-Boston rivalry, it's always there, right? But I feel like it's lost a little spark lately, and you could have a matchup there with Rangers-Bruins. And I'm not, a basketball expert by any stretch, but, the Knicks and Celtics, they could play each other. That would be fun. But, Rangers and Panthers, it's funny. Me and Armando, who does an awesome job hosting Locked On Panthers, we were trying to set up a crossover episode earlier this season and weren't really able to make it happen. But I messaged him. I said, well, it doesn't matter. We'll see each other in the conference finals. And we'll see. That could very easily happen. I mean, I do think the Panthers will probably win, but you never know what's going to happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs, as we talked about.
Stay up to date on the New York Rangers all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Rangers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, Malik Neighbors is not enough to help Daniel Jones. The New York Giants committed to Daniel Jones, and then all they did to help him was draft Malik Neighbors. As our Locked On Giants host Patricia Traina says, that's not nearly enough.
What did the Giants do this year? Well, everybody thought, or most of us thought, I should say, that the Giants were going to draft a quarterback from a very deep quarterback class. That did not happen. So Joe Shane, the general manager, Brian Dable, the head coach, they pivoted and went to plan B. And plan B is to build up around the quarterback position. So they added Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, which we kind of knew they were going to do. They added Tyrone Tracy in the 5th round, a running back to that, committee that they're building. And they added Theo Johnson in the 4th round, a tight end. Regardless of what happens with Darren Waller, they added some firepower to the offense. But the centerpiece is obviously Malik Neighbors. And when Malik Neighbors was drafted, a lot of people were like, okay, This is a guy who's going to save Daniel Jones. Folks, I think that's just very unfair to put that on Malik Neighbors. All right. Now, Malik Neighbors, he's going to be the Giants' first legitimate ex-receiver since Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to have the type of impact on the offense that Odell had when he was here. Mainly, he's going to be able to draw double coverage. He's going to open things up on the outside for the other receivers. He's going to give the quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, or whoever, Tommy DeVito, or, if it's Nathan Rourke, whoever the quarterback is, going to give him a nice big target, a guy who can separate, a guy who can pick up yards after the catch. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's not enough to save the quarterback.
She's right. The question is anything enough? I know. We saw an extremely fake playoff run just 2 years ago from Daniel Jones and this Giants team. A bunch of close games, a bunch of fluky wins, and then they beat the flukiest team ever in the postseason in the Minnesota Vikings. That fraud Minnesota Vikings team. Daniel Jones got the big contract that everyone, except the people who signed the deal, the minute ink hit paper, knew was a bad idea. He's just not good enough. So no, Malik Neighbors is not enough. Not behind an offensive line that also isn't good enough. In a group of receivers that is full of slot speed guys. It's just not a well-constructed team right now. I'm not sure any quarterback would have great success in this set of circumstances, which has to lead us to wonder if the first season with Brian Daboll was as well coached as we thought, or did they just get a little lucky? Because last year, it certainly looked like a mess, including an attempted mutiny from the defensive coordinator, who is no longer in the building. It is crazy to think how far we've come from the halcyon days of 2022, but a lot has changed. And it has to raise serious questions about those in charge in New York. And finally, the New York Jets have 6 primetime football games scheduled before Thanksgiving. Yes, those Jets, the ones that went 7-10 last season, will be on your television a lot early. Now, Aaron Rodgers wasn't healthy, but I digress. What's really strange is when asked, the NFL said the Jets owe them. The NFL's Vice President of Broadcast Planning, Mike North, said, yes, it's an awful lot of primetime games early in the season, but obviously I feel like the Jets kind of owe us one. This is the plan? This is the plan? You will notice, by the way, that they're all early in the season because we're not sure if Aaron Rodgers can make it through a full season. We're not sure if the Jets are going to be any good in the second half of the season. So they're just admitting, hey, we're using Aaron Rodgers for clout. That's what they're doing. And this is not the same Aaron Rodgers from a couple of years ago. I'm not even talking about talent. I'm talking about PR wise. This is the guy that they think they want to put on everyone's TV screen. Why? Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who will be in the Final Four for the NBA? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.